everyone. I'm back with a story for Women's Day series. Women's Day was on 8th March, and this story is called Bir Singh and Sunderbai. I found this wonderful story in Tinkle Digest, which shows that celebrating womanhood, respecting women, is not a very recent phenomenon, and women asking for that respect, which is more important, is not very recent. It has always been there in our society. And let's see how this Rajput princess manages to win the love and respect of her husband. So, once upon a time, there was a prince. His name was Bir Singh. He was traveling on his horse and going to neighboring kingdoms when he came across a beautiful garden. And in that garden, he heard voices. And one of the voices said that I am going to marry Bir Singh, the prince of Vallabhpura. I have decided to make him my husband. Bir Singh is listening and he says, "Oh, how interesting." And he continues to listen. The voice goes on and says that if at all he does not treat me the way I deserve to be treated, I will show him that I am no less than a man. Bir Singh is intrigued by this and he asks passerbys, who does this garden belong to and who are these maidens who are sitting and talking? So the passerbys tell him that, oh, this garden belongs to our princess Sundarbai, and she is our beautiful princess Sundarbai. And they walk away. Bir Singh is really interested in marrying her now, and he decides to send a proposal to her father, Raja Kesari Singh. So, when Raja Kesari Singh receives the proposal, he is honored because the families are of equal rank and Bir Singh is a very valiant prince. So he agrees and they are married with a lot of pomp and splendor because Rajput weddings are always very royal. After the wedding, as they are about to leave, Raja Kesari Singh calls Sundarbai and gives her a ring and tells her that if at all the need arises, you can use this ring to contact me. And Sundarbai leaves her palace with her husband. As they go towards Bir Singh's palace, she waits for him all day, but Bir Singh does not come. She waits a few more days and there is no sign of Bir Singh. Now Sundarbai is worried, but she thinks that the prince must be caught up in some work. One day, as she goes to the temple, she says, "O Mother Gauri, I pray for my husband's long life and happiness." And Bir Singh, who has followed her, jumps out and says, "Is that all you can do?" Sundarbai is perplexed. Bir Singh continues, "What about that vain boast that you made in your garden?" Sundarbai says, "Oh my God, he heard me that day. It is beneath my dignity to prove myself, but just to win my husband's love, respect, I will do it." So she goes back to her palace and begins to think for a few days. And she finally comes up with a plan. She calls a trusted maidservant and she tells her that, "Here, take this ring and ask my father that I want to replace the jewel." So the maid takes her ring to her father's kingdom, and when Raja Kesari Singh sees the ring, he thought that she must never have to use this ring, but let me see what my child wants. And a few days later, the maid returns and she calls out, "Rani Sahiba." And Sundarbai is wondering where the sound came from. She goes to her window and sees there is a tunnel dug out. And she says, "Come, Rani Sahiba." And Sundarbai enters the tunnel and she says, "What is this?" The maid tells her, "You wanted nobody to know about what you wanted in that note that you had sent your father in the ring. So, here your father has sent a man's dress, an armor, and a swift horse." So Sundarbai dresses up, disguises herself as a male, and she tells her maid, "Let nobody come to know of this." The maid assures secrecy and goes back. Sundarbai proceeds out and goes to the sabha which is going on. She tells the king, the father of Bir Singh, that Maharaj, I am Gulab Singh and I have quarrelled with my father, so I cannot reveal his name, but I am a Rajput. I wish for some employment in your service. And the Raja grants him, he looks noble, aristocratic, and he grants him his wish and makes him one of the nobles in his court. As Gulab Singh rides, he wins the admiration of Bir Singh, and Bir Singh thinks that he is such a wonderful rider and makes him his friend to learn horse riding even better. As the friendship grows stronger, a few people complain that there is a man-eating tiger in the nearby forests who comes to the villages and devours people. So the king extends a reward for anybody who will kill the man-eating tiger. Gulab Singh offers that I will do it. Bir Singh is worried and says, no, 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 I cannot allow you. But he is adamant. And finally, he goes to an artisan and says, make me a hollow image of a man, and it should be open from the back to fit me inside. At night, when the image is ready, Gulab Singh has it installed at the edge of the forest. The tiger comes close and sniffs the man properly. Gulab Singh waits for his turn, sitting inside, and as the tiger is exploring, Gulab Singh comes out and slays him in one stroke. This wins the admiration of the king even more, and he honors him with a robe and gives him a reward of 1000 gold coins. After this, people of the kingdom wish to go for a hunting party, and the king, Gulab Singh, and many of the soldiers leave for this party. Bir Singh is left behind because he is unwell. Meanwhile, an enemy kingdom has come and has conquered the palace. When Raja comes to know of this, he is very worried for his son. And Gulab Singh says, I will do it, I will release Bir Singh and I will come back. The Raja is worried, how will you do it alone? Gulab Singh assures him, Raja Kesari Singh is my kinsman. Don't worry, I will free the prince. So while the party who had conquered the kingdom is making merry inside because of winning a kingdom so easily, Gulab Singh comes with his king's soldiers and he captures the fort again. And he frees Bir Singh and hugs him. Later on, as the king says that, oh, you saved my son's life, I'm so grateful to you, Gulab Singh asks him for a favor. He says that some of my old friends have come to meet me. May I go and meet them? So the king agrees, yes, yes, please go. But Bir Singh says, but please come back fast. And saying so, Gulab Singh goes away. He doesn't return for quite some time, and Bir Singh decides to go behind him. He goes and asks the guards, where did Gulab go? So the guards tell him, oh, he went into Sundarbai's palace some hours ago. And Bir Singh goes behind. And Sundarbai says, oh, you have come finally. Bir Singh says, no, no, I came to meet Gulab Singh. Where is he? Sundarbai asks him to come closer and says that look into my face. Do you think you can see a friend there? Bir Singh is shocked. Oh my God, Sundarbai, you, Gulab Singh, and he can't even speak. He's tongue-tied. So Sundarbai says, now do you agree that women are as resourceful as men? Bir Singh agrees and asks for forgiveness. And Sundarbai says, may Goddess Parvati bless my husband in every way and give him a long life. And both of them live happily together. I hope you liked it, and Please stay tuned to my channel and watch me next time.